to admit, but Marvin Harrison Jr. was a huge boom this week. During week 1, quarterback Kyler Murray quite literally forgot the Cardinals drafted one of the most talented wide receivers in the 2024 draft room. Murray only targeted him 3 times, causing Harrison Jr. to finish the game with 1 catch and 1.4 fantasy points in his NFL debut. This led to many fantasy managers, including myself, to bench him for week 2 due to his incredibly underwhelming performance. Murray even stated, "It's not my job to get Harrison the ball," which, to be completely honest, that's his exact job. In week 2, Harrison Jr. put up 29 total points with 2 touchdowns to show for it, and proved why no fantasy manager should ever make the mistake of benching him again. The last bust in week 2 of fantasy football has got to be Chicago rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Williams has just looked flat out awful through the first 2 weeks and has only put up 7 fantasy points each game. In week 2, he had 2 interceptions and somehow managed to be the only quarterback that has yet to throw a completion for more than 15 yards down the field. If you were on the Caleb Williams bandwagon when drafting your fantasy team, I give you major props because I can't say many people didn't see this one coming. Whether my team is successful or not, I look forward to seeing how the rest of this fantasy season plays out, especially because my buy-in was only $15. After the break, Kaden, Ulysia, and Ryan will be switching gears to talk about all things KU football.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Welcome back to Good Morning KU Sports. It was another frustrating game for the Jayhawks this past weekend, losing to UNLV 23-20 and falling to 1-2 on this season behind another lackluster performance by quarterback Jalen Daniels. What do you think of the game, guys? And Jalen Daniels' performance?
It was obviously another rough game for the Hawks. A game that KU should have won. Post-game win expectancy was 87%, which is really, really high. Non-con has not been great. Lindenwood beat up on a bad FCS team, that's whatever. But, albeit losing to an improved Illinois team, I think, and a UNLV team that very could well find themselves in the playoffs as the guys taking that coveted G5 spot. But there's a lot of things to fix that we'll get to, and yeah, we just got to figure it out. What do you think, Lucia?
Kind of the same thing that you were saying. I think that we should have won against UNLV. We were favored to win. We were favored to win against Illinois. I'm more so kind of focused on the previous games. We play West Virginia tomorrow, and we are favored to lose that game. So, what do you guys kind of think about going into that? Do you think Jalen Daniels will be able to perform how he's performed in the 2022 season?
I think so. I think it's just kind of like getting the game plan for him. I feel like, shorter throws, he's not reading the vertical throws very well. He's late. And the safety's kind of, he's just staring down his receiver. I wish they would just do some more shallow routes, easier reads, maybe let him use his legs, because on those 2 rushing TDs, the spin move, when he uses his legs, the offense is running. It's electric, and he's getting the ball to his receivers, and then Devin Neal can also get out in the backfield. He had like a 36-yard catch last game, I think. He's good in the pass game, I think, and the defense is solid, obviously.
Yeah, Devin Neal, looking back at this team that we had last year, we're seeing a lot of similar players kind of taking the lead in stats. Devin Neal had leading rushing yards with 333. He also had yards per rush attempt, which is 7.4, which is higher than the previous seasons that he's played. So he's doing better. We see Luke Grimm is leading in receiving yards. Mello Dotson has the one and only interception that we've had. And then also Cornell Wheeler leading with 20 tackles. So I think a lot of the guys coming into this are playing really similar to how we were playing last season. I think it really comes down to Jalen Daniels and if he's going to be able to get his confidence back.
Yeah, speaking of Daniels, the thing about college football is that you just can't hide your quarterback play. If the quarterback's not good, your whole team's going to suffer. We see that every single year with a handful of teams, with your Iowas, with your Wisconsins. We used to see it a lot. And, he has to get going if this team wants to go places. We have 3 deep at wide receiver. I think we have a good wide receiver core, like I just said. Obviously a great running back in Devin Neal. I think he's might be the best running back in the Big 12. But a lot of things he just has to figure it out, ramp it up for conference play. I think this will be a good test. It's going to be a good game. Both teams have their back against the wall in this one. West Virginia coming out off of a choke loss to Pitt in the backyard brawl. Neil Brown has lost a lot of his goodwill that he built up with the Mountaineer fan base. It's going to be a challenge. Garrett Green he's a good quarterback. You know, I think a lot of people are overhyping him coming to the season. He's had his fair share of early season woes, but yeah, what do you guys think?
I mean, I have to agree. I mean, like, we have season starters, and I think we win that game if we don't go, you know, punt, interception, punt, field goal, which was nice, and then turnover on downs. But looking forward to the Jayhawks traveling to Morgantown to take on the Mountaineers on Saturday at 11 a.m. in Central Time. Currently, KU is a 2.5-point underdog going to the matchup.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Welcome back to Good Morning KU Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Mundo, and I'm joined alongside Andrew Chalmers. Andrew, thank you for being here. Andrew, club soccer, tell me more about it. Like, what do people need to know on campus that they don't know already about club sports?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I mean, I think club sports are kind of a thing that a lot of people don't really look at when they come to a bigger college. They look at the D1 athletics that KU is known for, but we also have the club sports that don't maybe have those Division I athletics like soccer and like men's tennis and stuff like that. And it's more competitive than people will think. So yeah.
So I hear like intramurals, club, and professional D1. Where does club sports kind of land on that spectrum?
So the intramural sports are a lot of the times for the people that just want to have fun and just play the sport with their friends and stuff like that, which I do that and I think it's a lot of fun. Club is a little more serious, so it's more kind of figuring out, do you either want to play a Division I, II, or III sport, or do you want to play club in college?
And what is the time commitment per se? Like, how many practices a week? How long are those practices?
So I can't speak for all other sports, but for club soccer, we have 3 practices a week, and then we'll have games on the weekend. So we had 3 practices this week, and then we have a game on Saturday and Sunday.
And where are some of the places you've traveled to in your tenure here?
So last year, we were in the Kansas and Missouri division, so we traveled across Kansas to like Manhattan, Pittsburgh when we played Pitt State, went to Northwest Missouri, and then we went to Texas twice in Lubbock and Austin for regionals and nationals last year.
Do you have a favorite moment since you've been playing club soccer?
Let's see. I think my favorite moment was probably just our nationals trip in general. It was just really fun to get to know those guys a lot better, and we had a pretty good tournament.
And then prior to club soccer, what was your soccer level per se? Like how far did you get in your career?
So I played just a level below ECNL in Colorado, and I was a varsity athlete in high school, and I did recruiting for about 1.5 years to go to college, and then I just decided that I wanted to get a better education instead of playing college.
And comparing that to your high school career, how would you say club sports, like could your club sport team beat your high school soccer team?
I think it'd be a good competition. It really depends on the year, because this club team is very good and we have a lot of experience. We have a couple graduate students that really helps out with the physicality and stuff like that. But then our high school also has maybe a little better chemistry because we know each other better, but yeah.
So going off that, you have your club team. How close are you guys? Because you're not practicing every day like a high school team would. What kind of bond is there in club soccer?
I mean, truly, I thought it was going to be less of a bond than it really is. I hang out with those guys almost every day outside of practice. They're some of my closest friends, which is really something that I wanted coming from an out-of-state kid, just coming to a college where he didn't know anybody. And
last question, because you said there is pretty good competition. How many guys were at your tryout, and how many did you have to cut?
So we had about 75 to 80 people show up to our tryout, which was amazing. But we had to cut about 60 to 70 of those guys.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, Andrew, thank you for joining us here. And after this, we have Caden with GMKUSports.
Good stuff, Tyler. We're back with some more community college football ranking, and to no one's surprise, including my own, the rankings have not changed all that much since last Friday. Of course, still the top dogs in the country are the Hutchinson Blue Dragons. They remain at number 1 after a narrow 33-30 victory over Iowa Central. Then, still at number 2, the Iowa Western Reavers. They still get silver this week after they dominated a game against Dodge City 44-16. Then, Snow had their first real battle of the year after a slim 43-40 win came over Lackawanna. Finally, the only real changes of the week come here as Mississippi Gulf Coast has overtaken Kilgore in the rankings, flipping their spots around. Gulf Coast took down Jones in a 27-20 win, while Kilgore won over New Mexico Military Institute 40-30. That's the top 5 in the NJCAA. Let's turn over to Zach Newkirk for a closer look at the MLB playoffs.
Thanks, Caden. The MLB playoff race is heating up as we come down the home stretch of the season. Which teams will make it and which teams won't? Well, with just over a week and a half left in the regular season, let's look at the standings to see how things are shaping up. In the American League, the Yankees have been dominant all year and look to win yet another AL East title. They're in first in their division, but the Baltimore Orioles are following closely behind and currently hold the number 1 wild card spot. In the AL Central, the Guardians are on top and have been for most of the season, but this whole division has been strong all year. The second-place Royals have had a great turnaround season and hold the second wild card spot, while the third-place Twins are barely holding on to that third wild card spot, with the Tigers, Mariners, and Red Sox closely behind. In the AL West, the Houston Astros started slow but have had a great second half of the season and currently claim the first-place spot in their division. Now let's look at the National League. Powered by a star-studded lineup featuring Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, the LA Dodgers claim first place in the NL West. In second and third, the Padres and Diamondbacks are not far behind, claiming first and second wildcard spots in the National League. The Philadelphia Phillies are currently the best team in baseball and sit atop the NL East, but in second place, the New York Mets have their sights set on the playoffs as they sit in that third wildcard spot. Lastly, in the Central, the Brewers are the only team so far to have clinched their division and have solidified their playoff spot. National League teams still in the hunt include the Braves, the Cardinals, and the Cubs. These last 2 series will be full of action and pivotal games as the 2024 season comes to a close.
In other baseball news, Shohei Ohtani is the greatest player of all time, and the White Sox are only 4 losses away from the all-time MLB record. I'm Todd Mundo, and thank you for tuning in to Good Morning KU Sports. Don't forget to tune in to Playmakers at noon for features on KU women's golf and men's soccer. Have a great rest of your day.